tell me about your mastermind. You have this amazing mastermind that you've put.
We.
Thank you very much for including me in this. I'm sure you're not talking about the mouse in your pocket.
You last night, your wife yesterday, frantically about 6:30, saying, "I need some more things to talk about."
Well, I mean, masterminds really, it's a great thing when we are able to find the right people that find value in the topics, the conversation, the accountability that a mastermind can bring. And I think that's something you obviously established from the very beginning. Is this is not a just let's just sit around and talk and have a cup of coffee and some breakfast, because we all don't have time for that, right? So at the end of the day, it's got to be something of significant value for us and the members that are in that group. And I think we're off to a great start with it.
Yeah, I think we are too. And, kind of backing up a little bit, masterminds have been around. I didn't create anything new. I say all the time, I'm the best plagiarizer in the market, right? I still
swipe and adapt.
I have no original thought, and I will plagiarize everything, and I own that to a T.
Yeah.
But, earlier last year, the market has been so overwhelmingly challenging for people. And, as a title rep and in service to my clients, I have conversations with my clients all the time. And it was, everybody was having to be so strategic about every blank in the contract.
Yeah.
And I noticed that we were starting to get a lot of questions around, what strategies have you seen, and what are other buyers agents doing to win the deal, and all these things. And I was like, well, there's just common vein, and we need to sit around a table and talk about solutions to what they're facing in this incredible market. And so I think one of my first phone calls was, to you and to, of course, Christy Davis. You two are the ones I lean on the most to make sure that the content is valuable, and you've become really big partners in continuing this effort. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
But, I shared this on another podcast that I did. Whenever you ask high producing individuals to come into a room and we're here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I always think, well, maybe this month we'll wrap it up early. We never do. We're here for 2 hours. When you ask people to take that kind of time out of their day and sit down with you, you better have something good to talk about.
We have a responsibility back to them, right?
A huge responsibility.
The ones that are putting the mastermind together, we have a responsibility back to them to say, look, at the end of the day, we're only going to do this if we find there's enough value in it for the group, and they're getting at least one thing, right?
At least one golden
nugget. You got to have one nugget that you take away that can positively impact you and your business every time, every meeting. And I think, what we've done really, really well, I believe, is, most people, when they see a challenge, sometimes they stop and they don't know how to move forward. They just stand still, right? And that's when the train runs you over and you're done, right? So what we've really worked hard at is, how do we take a challenge and turn it into opportunities and content producing opportunities that attract the positive attention to their business. And so we bring marketing into these challenging conversations, right? Whether it's around a contract, whether it's around the lack of listing available homes that are out there, whether it's around veterans not being able to get contracts, etc.
Right. We talk about all
these types of things, and then not just market related, but bigger picture types things as well. How do we use that to positively attract attention to the agent's business,
right?
Which ultimately drives them more business down the road.
Well, and I think one of the challenges here is, the group has to be made up of professionals, right? People dedicated to their craft, because the things that we're talking about, the strategies that we're laying out, wouldn't speak to someone who's brand new in the business and still doesn't know how to appropriately fill out the contract, just because, they haven't been through the training or whatever.
Sure.
So, there are parameters to the attendees in the room, and I don't know that I've sat and mentally said, okay, this is the requirement, but everyone in the room has been in the business much longer than 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone in the room has done at least $5 million in production. So, and there's some pretty heavy hitter, $60 million, $70 million, $80 million a year producers and up.
Right.
So I think that having parameters to the room also creates the opportunity to have strategic conversations.
Yeah.
And originally it was all about the market, but you and I have seen the need to move it into a conversation about content and social media and, not just videos, but content creation.
Everything. I mean,
Everything.
it's how are we taking something that needs to be viewed one way or the other and share it with the people that need to hear it, right? There's great conversations that happen in this mastermind. And that's the one great thing we have is regardless of production or years of experience, everybody's willing to share. And that's definitely one of the primary requirements of being in a mastermind is you have to be willing to share. Right?
By the way, that'll be one reason why you don't get to come back.
Right. If you're not sharing, you ain't coming back. But when you share, then that creates more conversation, and then that conversation can develop into, wow, I need to share that with other people.
Right.
And how do we share that with other people? One-on-one? That's a very long and slow process.
Yes, it
and
is.
With social media, with video, with podcasting, with all these types of things, you could just take nuggets that we talk about in a 2-hour meeting, and you can honestly have content for the next month.
Yeah, absolutely.
To talk about and share with your other people. So. Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm excited about where it is. I'm definitely excited about it going forward because 2002, I know we talked briefly about it, but there's a lot of things that we can do.
2021, you said 2002. I was like, I wasn't around.
2022. Sorry.
I don't know where you were in 2002, but I wasn't in real estate.
I was.
I have those moments too. I said 8 p.m. when I meant 11 p.m. and it changes the story. So I get it.
Yeah. No, I mean we got a lot of things that we're doing for 2022.
Well, and I think, she wasn't able to make it here today, but Christy Davis is a big component of the room as well because she brings that risk reduction, compliance aspect to the room, which people may or may not like, but it is a way for the room to stay completely up to date on changes that are coming and be in the forefront from that aspect as well. I mean, she gave me a sheet today on the matrix changes. We'll talk more about that in February, but I think that that's an important part of this as well, to have someone that can speak to the mechanical changes in real estate. And she's very good at talking about the mechanics.
Well, the mechanics, I mean, honestly, it could cost you a deal or it could gain you a deal.
Right.
Right. And if you understand the mechanics and then how to communicate those mechanics out to the listing agent, the buyer's agent, or the seller or buyer, and how, it could restructure the deal.
Yeah.
Once you really understand the nuts and bolts of it, then, that could provide a win for you.
Well, I think consistency with the people in the room and contribution are key to having a successful mastermind. And then I want us to, and we've talked about this several times, and we will, and you want this as well, to shift this room into something that is talking about their business from a content, standpoint, visibility, consistency on social media kind of stuff. Because, the status throughout today, this year, 82% of consumer content will be video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not going to slow down. It just isn't, and they're going to have to get over their fear, right? Fear of being on camera, and they're going to just be fully embrace living in front of a camera the whole time, because once you move past that fear and realize you don't have to create something, that you live in it, and then you have to structure your living around the documentation of your business, then that's when you have the true ability to impact more people and then raise your production goals, right? So, and it really is about impact, because if you focus more on, I just want to do this for more business, then you're going to quit, because you don't put out one video, you don't put out 10 videos, you don't put out 20 podcast sessions and immediately start getting business. You have to really commit to and believe that your words that you're saying will have a positive impact on one person. Right. And if you do that every single day, multiple times a day, then when you look up over a long period of time, you won. Mm-hmm. You did. It's just going to take some time. It doesn't happen overnight. So don't make it about, doing more business. Make it about how many more people can I positively impact.
When I talk to guys like you, through our conversations, it's always, well, I'm not making any money doing this, right? I haven't monetized this yet.
You can't track
but
ROI
But it's also, there were a couple of other things that I see as consistent talking points when we're talking about things like this. It is the consistency of doing it. It is but there's also a progression to this where you're going, not from 0 to 100, but you can't skip 1 through 99 where you've done a video, right? You've started some consistent social media posts. You don't just jump to doing a podcast every week because you'll fail at doing something like it's too much, right? You've got to already have laid in the groundwork to become a good interviewer or to know how to identify content easily or opportunity more easily. If you're not doing things like this on a regular basis, then you aren't able to identify opportunity. As easily, And so I think that's also important. But it also, another key thing is what you just brought up, and that's more of the long-term gain. People do something one time and they're like, oh, wait, nothing happened. Okay, it's not working, and shift gears. This is it's like doing a farming program in a neighborhood. You got to commit to probably at least a year before you're going to start to see, that kind of whatever payoff it is you're looking for, whether it be more clients or something of that nature. So, as I'm getting more and more experience doing this stuff, I'm starting to see some of these things come to fruition. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you're right.
Yeah. It's a long-term process that you have to commit to, and it's a grind. I don't like to use that word a lot, but it is. It's just you got to be prepared for everything that it's going to come at you, and then how you're going to respond to the feedback, right? You don't want to get full of yourself if it's all positive, and you definitely don't want to get negative if you're not getting good content or good traction. Just commit to the why behind you're originally wanting to start.
So one of the great ideas you had today, which we're going to bring up next meeting, and I kind of want to talk about today, is the market being the challenge, and then creating content that you're not necessarily providing a solution to the challenge, but you're addressing the challenge and addressing it in a way that will position you as the expert and addressing it in a positive way. So do you want to expand on your idea a little bit?
Yeah, it could go either way, but I like the challenge solution type video.
Sure.
Because what we're talking about doing is we're saying, hey, this is a particular challenge that we have, right? And so whether it's a conversation around why this individual is not going to provide a bank statement. I think that's what I referenced. You're not going to provide a bank statement because it's a VA loan, and I need your bank statement because it's a gift and I have to source that money, right?
Right.
Well, that is a challenge.
Right.
Now, how did we overcome that? And people in general want to hear, because that's what we all walk in. They want to hear the challenge, but they want to know that if you're the subject matter expert, you provided a solution that gets the deal done.
Sure.
And so I have a 1-minute mortgage solution. Right? It's 1 minute. It tells everybody that, okay, you can hang on for 1 minute. It gives everybody a challenge, and it gives everybody the solution. I think that's important because every day, and especially in a real estate agent's life, they're dealing with challenges. They're on the phone all the time. They're in front of clients all the time. And regardless of how easy we think the solution is, it's easy because we're experts. It's a challenge to most because they don't live it every day.
Right.
So embrace every challenge and then work to create something that shows people that you know how to get things done.
I do this all the time on my podcast. I talk about, I had this conversation with this realtor and then this happened, and I'm going to have to stop doing it because at some point somebody's going to call me up and say, I know you were talking about me. I'm like, wait, no.
No, I have a lot of conversations. Right, a lot of conversations.
It is the problem solution and being the solution, the person people go to for solutions, right? Positioning yourself as the expert.
Yeah, and I always replace problem with challenge because the problem ends up being something that creates more of a negative.
Right.
Like the wording, the phrasing behind that creates something that's negative that can't be overcome. And then the challenge is just something we're ready for. It's an opportunity to create something new.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is a positive word, and then the solution obviously just solidifies the expert.
Bring on 2022.
It's going to 2022 is still going to provide its fair share of challenges.
Inventory.
Is going to be always there, and I don't think inventory challenges are not going away.
Yeah.
You have too many new people entering into this market as first-time home buyers. You have a ton of relos that are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Interest rates are going to still stay low in 2022, although they've come up from its all-time lows. They're still going to stay sub 4. Based on the data that we have.
We are having all these conversations about interest rates rising, and he said sub 4.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, hopefully most of y'all have been in the real estate game long enough. If you haven't, you're used to 2s and 1s on the interest rates. And those aren't going to be around. And we don't want them around because it's going to take some type of significant setback or drawback within our economy to push rates even lower than where they are. And we need to be having more of a natural trend upward in interest rates because we're going to be more in hopefully what's considered a healthy economic environment, a strong consumer confidence environment. We get further and further away from being locked down, and we have some more stabilization around belief or what our concern is, or just testing and all this stuff that we can say, hey, we can, get out and about and move forward and not be on lockdown. All that's going to drive interest rates higher.
Well, it's just interesting to me because there's going to be a major re-education that's going to have to go on for the younger generation. I said this morning.
Solution.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's conversation.
Well,
right?
I got a solution. You call my dad, he'll tell you all about his first house.
18%. 18%.
He reminds me of this all of the time.
Yeah, I mean, 18, and when they started getting 9s, they were like, oh my God, we got under double digits.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
I mean,
there'll be a new
things in
norm again.
perspective.
That's okay. We need to shift away from this.
Well, and I've always said, I don't care if it's 18%. It's still a lot less than what you pay as an interest rate when you rent, which is 100%, guys.
Right.
So whether it's 18%, it's 9%, it's 4%, you're still winning on the net worth side. You're still going to win on your monthly payment side. It's just really about making sure you're making the long-term investment for what it is that you're going to, however long you're going to stay in the house.
Just don't tell my tenants that. I need them to stay put.
Hey man, every time you replace that tenant, you get a new security deposit, you get new money. I mean, come on.
Yeah, new rehab costs.
Oh yeah, okay, good point. Good point.
Anyway,
convert it to Airbnb.
I've been talked to about this and look, the amount of money that people are making off these corporate relocation, properties, corporate relo properties, short-term rentals, it's mad crazy money. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could go buy an NFT after you get done with 1 year of these things, I think.
I'm not going to get in that conversation.
I'd
rather talk about
NFT.
Meta.
Are you proud of me?
I am. I'd rather talk about Meta than NFT.
You're like a champ.
She knew what that was.
I do know what it is.
Yeah, you like Erythium?
Okay, yeah, and we're done. Call it a wrap.